Good morning, students. Good morning to all. On last day, we have studied about the government company and the advantages, features, and the disadvantages of the government company. Also, we have studied. So, and you also got the same study portions. So today also just we will study what we have studied on last day and go to the new concepts. So last day we have studied about the advantages of government companies. When we have the government company, so what are the advantages are there mean? First one is easy formations. So if the government want to establish any of the companies, it is very easy to formations. A government company can be easily formed under the Companies Act just by an executive decision of the government. So there is no need to enact any of the act. There is no need to passing any of the act to establish. So if the government just decided to establish one of the government companies on the basis of the demand on the nations only is enough. So it is very easy. So next, internal autonomy. So a government company can manage its affairs independently. So it is relatively free from ministerial control and political interference and in its day-to-day functioning. So all the official work will be happen without any of the trouble. So because the internal autonomy power always existing in the government companies. So there is no government interventions. Government interventions mean there is no intervention of the ministerial controls. Next, private participations. So through government company device, the government can avail of the management skills, technical know-how and experience of the private sector and foreign countries. So when the governments are conducting the companies, so it will be arranged to providing many of the facilities. So here the private organizations and the private individual peoples also can able to participate their day-to-day functions. For example, the Hindustan Steel Limited has obtained technical and financial assistance from the USSR, West Germany and UK for its steel plants. So like that, if you want to establish any of the companies, so we can have the linked with any of the other private organizations. It may be the multinational companies also. So next, easy to alter. So the objectives and the powers of the companies can be changed by simply altering the memorandum of association of the company. So without seeking the approval of the parliament. It is not like a public undertakings. So it is very easy to alter their objectives and the power of the government companies by changing their simply altering the memorandum of associations. So when they are going to change all the powers and objectives in this memorandum of associations, automatically it will be easy to alter. So without seeking the approval of the parliaments. So next, discipline. So the government company is subject to the provisions of the Companies Act, which keeps the management of the company active, alert, and disciplined. So when the governments are conducting any of the companies, it is subject to the provisions of the Companies Act. So on the basis of or according to the Companies Act, what are the disciplines have to be maintained by the workers? Everybody will be maintained or have to be followed. Next, professional management. A government company can employ professionally qualified managers. So even if there is some of the government interventions are there, the government company managers only have the power to appointing the all managers and the employee. So the government company always employ the professionally qualified managers only. So because it has its own personal policies. So when they have the own personal policies, they will appoint some of the qualified persons on the basis of the or on the related of the working conditions. Next, public accountability. So the annual report of the government company is presented to the parliament state legislature. So these reports can be discussed and debated there. So every year the public corporations, sorry, the government companies have to be submitted their annual report of the government companies. So it also will be taking into the account of considerations. So when they are going to considerations, the public also will have the more confidential on the government companies. So the servants advantages we have studied on last days. So easy formations, internal autonomy, and the private participations. Next issue to alter, and the professional management and the discipline and the public accountability. Okay, then next disadvantages of the government company. So even if there is more advantages, some of the disadvantages also there in this government company. So first one of the disadvantages in the government company is board of directors packed with yes men. Yes men mean, some of the companies, if you are seeing in some of the companies or some of the officials, so many of the clerks and the managers and all the workers also will be say yes boss, yes boss, yes boss, even if they tell any of the wrong matters. So the all the board of directors packed with the yes men. So here all the managers will be as a yes man to their board of directors, and some of the board of directors also having the same character for their ministerials or some of the higher authorities. So on the board of directors of government company, there are government appointed directors. So here the government being the major shareholders. So who are yes men of the government, they are unable to run the company in the business like manner. So even if there is more, even if some of the board of director or some of the managers are having the good knowledge in their stream of line, so the board of directors will not keeping there as a continuously. So those who all want to continue in their work or the business like manner, they have to begin as a yes man's. So the board of directors packed with the yes man's groups. So when they have this type of the characters, so every functions of these government companies will be held by their shareholders only or the board of directors only. They will never give any of the welfare function to the public. Next, autonomy only in names. So we have studied in these advantages of the government company because the autonomy power, but this autonomy power only in name. So the government company, independent character of a government company exists only in the name. So in reality, politicians, ministers, government officials interfere excessively in the day-to-day working of the government company. So even so what type of the product and how much amount of the product and where they have to going to deal, and those who all want to leave, everybody is related of everything also will be interfere with the government officials and some of the related ministries. Okay, but on the base, but in the memorandum of associations, so this company name may be mentioned, it is the autonomy power, but this autonomy power always will be in the name only, but so many of the interference or interferes always there in this government company. Next, a fraud on companies act constitutions. So a government company is criticized as being a fraud on the Companies Act and on the constitutions. So normally we will say if any of the companies on government, so there will be some of the corruptions and some of the reputations will be there. So even till the peoples of our nations doesn't have the confidence on the government companies. So even if the government companies, some of the work or the produced product of the government is not confidential and not qualities. So this criticism is valid on the ground that the government can exempt a government company from applications of several provisions of the Companies Act. So again, the parliament is not taken into the confidence while creating the government companies. So whenever one government is going to construct the companies, so the people will always think only for the purpose of the government profit only they are going to construct. So next, the fear of exposure. So the annual report of the government company is placed before the parliament state legislature. So the working of the company is exposed to press criticism. So therefore, the management of the government company often gets demoralized and may not take initiative to come out with the implement something innovative. So already we have studied as a good entrepreneur, as a good board of director must be take the power of having the innovative. But here one of the problem they have to meet. So what is the problem is they have to submit the annual report in this parliament or the legislative assemblies. So when they are going to submit the annual report, so this report always has the power to expose the press criticisms. Suppose if the press, if they are criticized on the report, they will know some of the answer must be given. So the fear of exposures, they will not take any of the effort. So what is the procedure already was taken by that government company, that same procedure only will be taken till end. So the productivity of the companies and the productivity of the labors also will be very low in the government company. Next, lack of experts in deputationist. So the key personnel of a government company are often deputed from the government departments. These deputationists generally lack expertise and commitments, so leading to lower operational efficiency of the government companies. Some of the expertise always have the power of the deputationist. So the efficiency, the operational efficiency of the government companies will be get low. Next is selfish functioning. So the government company works neither for the government nor for the public at large. So it serves the personal interest of the people who work in the company and who dictate policies of the companies. So normally all the workers in the government companies will never doing their work and regarding for the government or not regarding for the public. So only they will working for the fairness of the high authorities, and some of the peoples will doing the work on the behalf of their self interest. So the self functioning only will be existing in the public or the government companies. So when they have doing any of the work with their selfish motive, the productivity power or the functioning of the companies also will be very low. So how many disadvantages are there? Means 6. So the board of directors packed with yes men. So always some of the people will have the slaves to the board of directors. Next, autonomy only in names. Next, a fraud on companies act. Next, the fear of exposures. Next, lack of expertise in deputationist. Last one is selfish functioning. Okay, students, our ninth chapter has been end. So the ninth chapter is finished. So next we will go to the chapter 10. So chapter 10 is Reserve Bank of India. So why we have to study the Reserve Bank of India? Not only the Reserve Bank of India. So why we have to study the bank of or banking sector in this commerce means already we have studied one of the sub branches of the commerce is financial assistance. So the hindrance of finance also will be eliminated by the banking sector only. So we must study about the banking sectors in this commerce. So here, so need for the study and the service business. You may think, what is the need for the study and the service business in their business world or the commercial world? So what is the need? So the educational, medical and the hospitality and the like service business existed for centuries. So its prominence in the global trade is of recent origin after 1970 only. So the service sector has emerged as the most dynamic sector of the world economy. So contributing almost one third of world gross value added or half of world employment. So it remains the key driver of India's economic growth. So many of the financial or the business service or the service business only improve the industrial sectors and the agricultural sectors. So even the industrial sectors, the people, those who are involved in these industrial sectors and the agricultural sectors must be in need of the lack of financial facilities. So whenever they have been in the need of financial facilities, they must they must borrow from any of the organizations. So next, the banking service. So nowadays the banking only is provide more financial facilities to the entrepreneurs and the producers and even in the farmers, and some of the individual also can able to borrow the money from the banking service. So how the banking service is improve our national economy or the business organizations mean in a lot of way it will be providing services. So banking service is the nerve center of the industry and the commerce in a country. So banking service is the nerve center of the industry and the commerce in our countries. Not only in our countries, in all the countries, the banking sector only is considered as a nerve center, because the both of the sector also will be in the need of financial assistance for their extent of the services. So whenever they will be in the need of assistance, financial assistance, the banking service only will provide the required amount. So it plays a vital role by providing the money required for their regular functioning and the development. So a World Bank normally refers to the commercial bank. There are many types of banks rendering different types of the services. So if you are considering the commercial bank, they will provide many deposit facilities and the lending facilities and borrowed money facilities and the loan for home, car, and many facilities is provided by the banking service only. So the central bank is the most important one among them. But even though if there is more commercial banks and the agricultural banks and the NABARD banks, so the central bank only is very important, because as we have studied in the economies, the Reserve Bank of India only is considered as a banker's bank and the last resort of the commercial banks. So every nation has one central bank. It is owned by the government of the countries. So all the nations must be have one of the central bank. The central bank is owned and controlled by the government. So in India also one of the central bank is there. His name is Reserve Bank of India. So the control over the entire banking system of a country is vested with the apex bank. Apex bank means the primary banks. So the central banks are known by different names in different countries. Their functions also vary from country to countries. So on the basis of the constitution of one nation, the functioning of the Reserve Bank of India, so the functioning of the central bank also will be differ from nation to nations. A central bank is set up as an autonomous or quasi-autonomous body. So the Reserve Bank of India will never depending upon the government for everything. So on behalf of the government only, the Reserve Bank of India have to do many efforts and many things. So stability and growth of the country's economy are the main goals of a central bank. So we have studied in many areas the stability and the growth of the country's economy only the main goals of the central bank, because the central bank only have to impose or expose the many different type of the policies. So on the basis of the economy systems and the conditions of the economy. So in India, the Reserve Bank of India is the central bank. It is shortly called as RBI. Next, the historical development of banks in India. So in India, beginning in from the 1772, the banking service are provided. So the Bank of Hindustan was the first bank in India. It was established in 1770 and it was closed in 1932 itself. And the General Bank of India, so it was established in 1786 and it was also liquidated in 1791. So next, the Bank of Calcutta, it was first joint stock bank established in 1806. It was renamed as the Bank of Bengal in 1809. So next, the Bank of Bombay, it was established in 1840 and the Bank of Madras in 1843. So these banks are called the presidential bank. So the Bengal and the Bombay and the Madras only is considered as a bank of presidentials. Okay students, I think it's enough. So if you have any doubt, please ask me.